Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you that have known me for quite some while now, you probably know that I have been followed by many stories and legends of adventure from Cyber Dragon to overlaying with level 4 or 5 monsters to being banned from stores. And I wanted to take this cool opportunity to start a sort of new series for you guys, which is called Storytime. And in Storytime I will talk about my own adventures in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Landscape, but I'm also very interested in anything that you have learned or, had happened to you over the years. So if you have any cool stories like mine, like rulings, matches, games, like anything that's gone wild in or outside of the game, of course it has to do with Yu-Gi-Oh! Be sure to let me know in the comment section down below or send it to my Facebook page or Twitter. So the first story that I wanted to tell you guys is about the level 4, level 5 overlay, which is quite an interesting story to say the least. A lot of my friends already know this story, but it is also kind of fun to rehear it after all those years, because this happened in 2017 at YCS Prague. Now, this was like a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. It was November, I believe, and it was mid-Spiral format. This was the first time Spiral was tier 0. The Link era had just begun and Spiral had received their double helix and it was running rampant. They had 3 quick fix, 3 drones, machine dupe, and it was a very interesting format to say the least. So I played Burning Abyss for a while before that year, and I had no plans in playing Spiral, and I just was kind of wondering, what deck am I gonna pick for this meta, what am I going to do? And something that was really cool that had a very good matchup against the Spiral deck, miraculously, was the Inferno deck. Because one Imagination could just win you the entire game. You just bait one pop and then you win the game. And the deck plays stuff like Gamma, and it plays stuff like Void Feast, so you have going first potential and some protection. So I figured this is pretty cool, I always I used to hate the deck, then I bought it and I picked it up and it was kind of fun, and then I realized that it was actually quite good. So why not give it a shot? So as we speak, I've been playing that deck for like 3 weeks up to the YCS to prepare myself, and I had some experience. Like, I played against the deck back in the day, but I never really knew exactly what it did. I'm going to be completely honest, I am the very typical Yu-Gi-Oh! Player that doesn't read cards. If I think I know what a card does, then that is exactly what the card does, and third, I have no idea what else it could potentially do. So, for example, a week before the YCS, I learned that Tatsym can only banish a card when it battles with a monster. Well, I used to just, at the end of battle phase, activate its effect even if it attacked directly, which is not legal, because it has to attack a monster. It's that kind of stuff, that the 3 words that you are missing inside your head of the effect. Like, you think you know, but you don't really know, but you think you know. So that kind of sets the summary for this, story. So we are going to the YCS in a mid-Spiral tier 0 format with a rogue deck, and it went pretty okay actually. I won my round 1, I won my round 2, then I won my round 3, and that was all. I'm 3-0, I'm pretty confident, it went all pretty good. I already slayed like a Spiral player, 2 rogue players, so I was still lucky to not have played against Spiral the entire event. So I sat down on like table, I believe it was like 10 or something. It was quite high for... It's only round 4, but it doesn't really matter. So I sat down on my table, my opponent sat down, and the judge came over and he told us, yeah, you guys are up for feature match. And I'm like, oh, let's go into the feature match. That's cool. My opponent was also kind of excited. He was kind of shyer a little bit. And I was like, yeah, man, we're going to go to this feature match with the best deck. This is going to be very cool. So I sit down, and I'm like, yeah, man, it's Spiral format. Now let me show you how my deck works, how it tears the meta apart, and how it's gonna win the entire YCS, So we start playing a little bit. So I win the die roll and I go first. I have a very horrible build, by the way. This is a feature match that has been filmed. I will link it in the comment section down below. My hand was garbage. I ended on a Mechaba because I was playing Invoked Infernoid. Yes. Opting to go first while drawing Dark Hole, which already shows you the kind of deck that I had built for that event. Yikes. So we are on the 1 Mechaba, we're kind of chilling, laying back, we're not having the best hand ever, and the thing that he does is he's gonna set some back row and then he's gonna tribute summon Masterpiece. Oh. Yeah. That's a thing. this was also the format that Masterpiece was still at 3 and the deck hadn't really been touched. And yeah, I can already say that my Inferno deck doesn't have the very best matchup. And my hand was already quite terrible. The thing with why I played the deck was Void Imagination, because it's good against extra deck monsters. Well, True Draco has none. So I'm in a kind of rough spot at that point. But the match continues on a little bit, you know, and I summon my Mechaba back again, and he does the skill drain, and I'm like, I'm gonna attempt to poke for damage, but eventually he picks up a card and he wins. One note though, there was a point in this match that you see on the feature as well, where I summoned Petrulia while I had a Mechaba. I was just not thinking, because no Inferno monsters can be summoned when the total level of the field is higher than 8. Mechaba's level 10. So I couldn't summon Petrulia there, I just did it, I don't know why. I didn't think, I knew it at that time that I couldn't summon it, but I did it anyway. I didn't win the match, so no harm is done. So we go into game 2, you know, and I'm a little bit more ready, and I beat him. I don't really remember. Oh, I drew grass. I hard drew grass. Yeah, that's how I won. That grass looks greener still was in the format. That card is insane. For those of you that don't know what it does, when you activate grass, you mill the extra amounts of cards that you have in your deck over your opponent's deck. For example, my opponent's playing a 40 card deck, you're playing a 60 card deck. That means that you will mill 20 cards when you activate the card, which is honestly quite insane. So I used that advantage to steamroll over my opponent, and eventually I won game 2. Then we go into the legendary game 3. You know, I am hyped up. We are getting there. We beat him game 2. You know, it's gonna suck because I cannot win off this deck, and we're just gonna see what happens in the legendary game 3. You know, we go in and he sets a bunch of back row, which sucked. But my hand was insane because I had 1-for-1. I had left arm offering, which did nothing because I already had the grass again. How am I gonna win off True Draco without our drawn grass, right? How? It's a one-off. It's fine. We can draw it every time. So I'm pretty stoked, you know, this is winnable. You know, he has done the Desires, he did the Mice as well, so that was kind of scary. So I was really scared of the Imperial Order, because that was the only card that's gonna win in the game. So I draw my card for turn, and he does in the standby phase the thing that also shocked me. He flipped Anti-Spell. Wow, and then that quite sucked because I had 4 spells in hand. So I'm like, yeah, this sucks. So I set everything and I pass. And for those of you that don't know True Draco, they tribute their monsters by using their spells and traps. And when you tribute a trap, you can destroy a monster. When you tribute a spell, you can destroy a back row. So my greatest fear at this moment was that he was going to destroy the grass and my win chances would be entirely gone. So he does a couple of things. He draws a couple of more cards. He has some advantage. He's having a pretty good hand. So I'm not really sure why I'm not dead yet at that point. Summons another monster. He's gonna poke for a little bit of damage, you know, it's gonna be cool. And he passes turn without destroying anything on my field. So I'm hyped, you know. I'm literally in the seat. This is my first feature match. I have not topped a YC as yet, still haven't by the way. And yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to activate this grass, and I'm just still so scared for the order. So I draw a card for turn. I activate 1-for-1. I discard my card. I summon Inferno Decatron. Inferno Decatron can, on summon, send an Inferno from the deck to the grave. His name and his effect becomes that monster, and his level becomes the monsters that has been sent, but he gains it. He doesn't become the level, he gains the level, which is something I didn't know. So I send my Petrulia, which is a card that can destroy back row. So I destroy his back row, and gets destroyed, nothing really happens. And I'm like, okay, he lets 1-for-1 resolve. We're pretty good now, we can activate grass. I flip that grass. He says, okay. I am pumped up by excited. This is so cool to see on the feature match as well. I jump out of my seat almost and I'm like, let's go. This guy activated the Mice, he activated Desires. I mill 34 cards, let's go, you know. We are going in there. We're definitely getting in there. So we are milling everything. We're sending everything to the grave that we have, and we are popping off. And the next thing that I do is I summon an Alistair. Use the effect, you know, pretty cool. Or maybe it would have been a snow, I don't know. And so I grab my Decatron and I overlay it for the other level 4 that I have to make a Minerva. This was a mistake. I soon learned that I will be remembered of fondly, and everyone will remember me about the fact that I did this. I overlaid my Decatron that in my head is a level 4, because I thought that Decatron would become the level of the monster he sent. Petrulia is a level 4, so I thought that he was level 4. What I didn't know, because I haven't read Decatron ever in my entire life, was that he gained the level. So my Decatron was at level 5. So I proceeded to overlay Minerva with a level 4 and a level 5. Let's go. I used the effect of Minerva, mill a bunch more cards, but in my complete honest defense, this is exactly what the judges told me afterwards as well. I had milled 34 cards with grass. It may have been even more. It may have been like 40 or something. I cannot remember. It was so much. I had everything in the grave already. This game was 100% mine. So I'm hyped up. I make that Minerva. I summon the Devyati. I destroy his entire field. Link summon a bunch, summon them back, attack for game, and that's the win. So I'm excited. I'm ecstatic. We were already at the end of the round at that point, so my entire friends was sitting over there and they were all pretty hyped up. Like, yeah man, let's go, yeah, and the feature match cuts off. And I turned to my side and a friend of mine who was judging stood there and he was like, just to be sure, what you did there was illegal. And I was like, what? What do you mean? You mean my grass? Are you meaning? No, Decatron becomes the level, so none of the judges had stopped me at that point. Which was quite interesting because he, for one, is an Inferno player. But they didn't stop me. They just let me play it out. And then after the match, they told me and my opponent what he did there was illegal. But it didn't matter because he had enough resources in the grave. I didn't use any of the things that I had milled with the Minerva there. But it was already too late. The live feature match chat was going wild. The Facebook stream chat was going wild. My WhatsApp was going wild. And ever since, people haven't forgotten it. It's still live if you want to see it. It's a pretty interesting match of how my rogue deck has a terrible matchup and wins by opening 2 grass. It was a very, very cool experience to be on stream. It's just sad that I had to play this. I could have done like many other things. I could have just link summoned the Decatron away and it would have been fine as well. I could have done like a million different plays, so it didn't really matter in the end. But I did cheat on feature match and I wasn't stopped. I cheated twice. So yeah, I'm hyped. I'm 4-0 at the moment, and so I'm still ecstatic, and my friends are cool, and everything is nice. I cheated on stream. Who cares? That's a cool story, right? So I proceed to go into the next game, and I was like, yeah, man, did you see the feature match to my opponent? And it's like, no. Like, yeah, man, I wasn't featured, and I won. Oh yeah, cool. I proceeded to misplay like 3 times in my first turn, and eventually just said, you win, fine. I was so angry and tilted. The game afterwards I lost as well, and the match afterwards I lost as well. So I went from 4-0 to 4-3 and I dropped out of the event. Let's go! Infernoids is the best deck out there. So that's my very infamous story of how I cheated on feature match but got away with it in the end. In my defense, I honestly had no clue what I was doing. This was one of the first YCSs that I had, and I even went 4-0. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's unfortunate that it happens, but in the end it didn't really matter anyway. So yeah, do you have any cool stories like that? Let me know in the comment section down below, or again send it to my Facebook or Twitter. Link is in the description down below. There are more stories coming, like the infamous story of how Cyber Dragon beat me and why that haunts me every day. And yeah, I'm gonna look around in my friend group if they have any cool stories as well, and we're gonna, see what happens with the series to, get kind of reminiscence on some memories and remember the good old days where we could actually play. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this content. More deck lists will follow in the future when I have them. Don't forget to drink Red Bull every now and then. Refreshing. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.